Hello, this is Mr. Basinger. Hope everybody's okay. I wanted to go ahead and say that we have a quiz on Tuesday, remember, okay, which is next class. What is on quiz 1 of quarter 2? It's going to be everything inequalities. So everything inequalities. So you need to know how to solve inequalities. Okay. How to graph inequalities. And everything's in one variable. So this is with one variable, meaning you only have x is less than 2, right? Or you have y is less than or equal to 45, right? There's no x plus y, right? So it's all one variable each. So you have to learn how to solve them. We'll go over that in a second. You know how to graph them. Okay, you're going to be doing a lot of practice today to get ready for it. You're also going to be doing some problems in your groups to solve real-world problems. Okay, real-world problems is just a fancy way for a math teacher to say word problems. Okay, word problems. There are 2 on the quiz. So 2 on quiz. 5 points. Okay. 5 points each. 2 on the quiz, 5 points each. And we're going to be doing a few of those today to practice with our groups. And then you guys need to do it collaboratively, together, not letting somebody get away with not doing anything. You need to be doing stuff and asking questions. Another thing that is on the quiz is properties of inequality. Okay, inequality. Okay, so if you have to add to both sides of an equation, it's addition. Property of inequality. If you have to subtract, it's subtraction property of inequality. Same with multiply, multiplication property of inequality, and division property of inequality. Okay, so our main topics are going to be right here. So solving, right, that's number 1. You know also how to graph inequalities, and they're not that hard, right? Because it's a number line, but don't mess that up, guys. And then number 4, properties of inequality. So there's only 4 things or 4 concepts to understand. Okay, and real world problems you have to use 1 and 2. Okay, you don't have to use number 4 unless it asks you a question about number 4, like, you know, which step is being used. Okay. Now we can kind of move on to our first problem. Let's work on it together. Just basically, what are the rules to solving an inequality? And we talked about this a little bit last class. And you're going to be working a lot in your groups on these problems so that you can do better on the quiz. Now, number 1, you just solve it just like an equation. There's nothing different, except for, remember, if you divide or multiply by a negative, okay, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must switch the inequality sign. So look at this example. Negative 3 times x minus 2 is less than or equal to 10 plus x. So negative 3x minus 2 less than or equal to 10 plus x. Let's solve that for x. All right. Now the first step is figuring out what side do we want to get the x on. Well, with inequalities, it's always nice to have the x on the left side. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's get all the x's on this side, not that side, this side. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw our train tracks. Now, what this means is we have separated this into 2 parts, right, left and right. And we want to put this x. We want to get this x to go away because we want all the x's on this side. Okay, because remember we want to end up with x, x something, right? X is less than or whatever if we switch signs or something. But we want x on one side. That means that we have to actually go ahead and subtract. We have to go ahead and subtract x from both sides. Okay, subtract x from both sides. And what's x minus x? Good. Just kidding. I don't know if you guys said it. Is 0, goes away. And then negative 3x minus x, okay, it's negative 4, which brings us to this. We subtracted the x. This got canceled out. And now we have negative 4x, right? Negative 4x minus 2 is less than or equal to 10. So minus 4x is minus 2, less than or equal to 10. Now we got to get this x by itself, which means we got to get rid of this 2. So we actually have to add 2, okay, to both sides. We have to add 2 to both sides. And what we end up with, when we add 2 to both sides, okay, is we end up with negative 4x less than or equal to 12. Okay, because you added 2 to both sides. And you named it. We divide by 4, okay, on both sides. Divide by negative 4 on both sides. And we end up with x. Uh-oh, we divided by negative. We divided by negative. Roll. We have to switch. We have to switch the inequalities. So 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. Okay, so we just solved an inequality that was pretty intense, right? Multi-step inequality. When we got x is greater than or equal to negative 3. Now we graph that. To graph that, all you have to do is draw a line with 2 arrows. Okay. Put negative 3 right here. Put negative 2 right here, because we're going up, and then go 1 down. Okay. And we should have a closed circle at negative 3. You guys remember this from Math 7, closed circle. And we go the direction of the inequality symbol. However, make sure that your x is on the left side, because you can't do it correctly unless the x is on the correct side, which is the left side. So we go in this direction. Okay? And this would be the answer. So again, the quiz is going to have solving inequalities, graphing inequalities. Okay. It's going to have solving real world problems, and we'll talk about this in a second. 2 on the quiz, which are 5 points each, and properties of inequality. Okay, so properties of inequality, remember, for this step, right, if we look at everything, right, all of them together, that's important. So let's look at that. If we're going to divide by negative 4, we end up with x is greater than or equal to negative 3. Okay. Now, if x is greater than or equal to negative 3, we know this is true. Now, we subtracted x from both sides. So that would be the subtraction property of inequality, because we subtracted both sides. Here we added to both sides, so it would be the addition property of inequality. So subtraction of inequality, addition of inequality. Here we have division of inequality. That's easy points on your quiz. Don't forget those. Your quiz is next class. We're going to do a lot of work to get today, so be ready. Okay.